In my experience, this tip mostly applies to this kind of pattern where there's a leaf with veins, and typically there's a central vein like this, and then the offshoots coming off of that. And this may apply in other situations, but in my carving, this is when I run into it. And it doesn't really matter too much for veins like this that come in completely perpendicular to the central vein, because the two sides of it here are both 90 degrees. They're kind of the same. But it's more of an issue on veins like this that come in at an angle. So you can see this gap between the two veins is tight, and this is a big angle. And basically the tight angle becomes a weak spot once you've removed the other side. So one way to help preserve that weak spot is just to carve this side first. If I start up here and just carve this side first, when I get here to this spot that will eventually be weak, it's still attached right now. So the grain is supporting itself, and there's not really a weakness, so I can just carve that like normal, and then as I carve the other side, that's already been cut, and it'll just kind of peel away as it needs to as I remove the other side of this vein. But the other situation can, if you forget to or just prefer to do it differently, if you do the wide angle side first, as I'm doing here, now I would naturally come in this direction. This is the with the grain cut. Maybe not as crucial to worry about grain direction when you're doing something as thin as veins like this, but generally just gives a nicer carving experience as well as result, so I usually do anyway. But now, since this grain has been removed, cut, this becomes a weaker spot. So if I carve this way, I'm going to tend to get the grain popping out, and I can have issues with that. And again, it's a little more dependent on how this angle applies to or fits in with the grain direction specifically, but oftentimes that's the situation. So I don't want to carve top down in this situation and expose that pressure to the weakened spot. So I'm going to start at this end, so I'm relieving that pressure immediately and allowing that weak part of the wood to just peel away, and that preserves the part of the wood there that I'm keeping, prevents any of the grain from running ahead or chipping or anything like that. And again, depending on how you carve, that situation may not come, or just something to be aware of. I have had situations earlier in carving when I wasn't paying attention or didn't realize that would happen, that I had this tight part of the angle break the grain on me when I didn't want it to. So those are the two solutions. Either simply carve that tighter angle side of the vein first, like that, and then you're good to go on the other side in any carving direction. Or if you carve the wide side first, then start at this juncture. Don't start out at the tip. Start right here to free up that end to be able to move as you cut it. You just want to make sure that you don't end trying to cut the very end with that weak part being the only part that's holding on.